Good morning, I'm Rose Picard. This is Godly Play for Sunday, October 4th. This is the desert. The desert is a very dangerous place. There's no food or water there. People can die in the desert. When the wind blows, the shape of the desert changes and you can lose your way. The sun is so hot that people have to wear heavy clothing to keep protected. When the wind blows, the sand stings your face and hands. People need protection from the blowing sand. At night, it's cold, and you need many, many clothes to keep you warm. The desert is a dangerous place. People don't go there unless they absolutely have to. This is Jerusalem. Here's the wall. Inside is the temple built for God. Here are the people of God. They knew that God was in the temple, but they also thought it was the only place where you could pray to God. People thought that the wall of the city would protect them from everything. Then the Assyrians came, and they attacked the city. It was a terrible time. People fought, and some starved to death. Then the Assyrians went away. Then the Babylonians came, and they didn't go away. The king wanted the city of Jerusalem for himself. So they broke down the walls, and they burned the temple. They took many of the people from Jerusalem away. The soldiers marched God's people away from Jerusalem. The people looked back at the smoke of the burning city, and they wondered if they would ever see it again. As they walked through the desert, they had to do what the soldiers told them to do. They had to walk when the soldiers told them to walk. They had to sleep when the soldiers told them to sleep. They had to go everywhere the soldiers told them to go. They grew weary, and some even died. It took a very long time. They were in exile. They couldn't go back home to Jerusalem. They hung their harps on the weeping willow trees and sang sad songs. They dreamed of Jerusalem and the temple, but they couldn't go back. They even faced towards Jerusalem when they prayed. Slowly, God's people began to understand that God was in this place too. God's presence came to them as they were gathered to read the scriptures, to tell the old stories, and to pray. The king of Babylon allowed many of God's people to work. They set up little stores, and some worked for the king. So it was a shock when the king of Persia came with his army and took Babylon for himself. The new king began to let some of the people go back to Jerusalem. Some went with Ezra, and they began to rebuild the temple. Then even more were allowed to go back. These people went with Nehemiah, and they began to rebuild the walls around the city. Then the people of God were no longer in exile. They could go home again. But do you know what happened? Not all of them went home. Now they knew God was in the strange and foreign land, just like he was in Jerusalem. I wonder where you are in the story, or what part of the story is about you. I wonder what part of the story is most important. Thank you for joining me for Godly Play. Have a blessed week.